Whatever you choose to call it, the sub, the green sub, the new Kermit, or even the Starbucks, we're going to dive into this reference, tell you everything that you need to know about it. So guys, welcome to this very special video on the 2020 Submariner, the so-called Starbucks reference. And I think it's important to first of all cover off the fact that 2020, as we all know, was a year of change and flux. And it started with Rolex saying that they would not be producing any watches in 2020. And of course, we were then very surprised when we saw a number of Submariners launched. And for the very first time, this launch came directly from Rolex themselves. We're used to being at Baselworld and other shows for Richemont Group brands, but it was wonderful to see Rolex really participate in a vibrant digital launch for the very first time. It was a surprise to see this new Submariner come out. It was, of course, the end of the very well-loved and known Hulk reference. And of course, when you see this new reference, you'll immediately start comparing it to the original Kermit. And not only is the green itself a very different shade and Pantone, but it's the size that really comes across. The 1mm case size increase, while again doesn't sound like a great deal, but it is something that you are aware of. When you consider that it has given the extra width and thickness to the lugs and to the bezel itself, it really does combine for this package that feels bolder on the wrist. Now, of course, it's important to touch on what's inside this as well. Now, in the Hulk, we had the 3135. In this reference, we've got the 3235, which gives us a 70-hour power reserve and improved resistance to shocks, so therefore giving us a little bit more wearability. What's really interesting is that Rolex aren't very easy to predict moving forwards, but we can connect them looking back, and we see the updates in caliber all the way back to 2018 when we saw the Jubilee bracelet on the Pepsi GMT Master 2, and then of course in 2019 in the Batman. So we really shouldn't have been too surprised that we saw the caliber update in this 2020 Submariner. So I can hear you at home wondering, well, what are the key differences between this and its contemporaries? Well, there isn't a great deal of technological difference in this 2020 sub versus any of their counterparts in the current lineup. The truth is, there really aren't any great deal wholesale changes. It really comes down to budget and of course your taste. With that being said, it is worth just taking a moment to compare this reference we have from 2020 to the original anniversary Kermit. There aren't a great deal of differences other than the slight increase in case size, the change in the color of the green itself. But the truth is, up close you will see that there is significant differences in the Pantone color of the bezel itself. So in classic Rolex style, with this Starbucks reference from 2020, we see Rolex basically taking a little bit of a risk. In the grand scheme of things, Rolex tend not to take many risks, but they wanted to update the caliber, increase the case size for a little bit more wrist presence, and instead of just giving us something that wasn't going to grab all of the headlines, they've decided to hark back to something that we know and love. You know, the Kermit really has been, since its inception, one of the most popular references that Rolex have ever produced. So to come at us again with something of this ilk, this aesthetic, really was bold and, yeah, taking somewhat of a risk for Rolex. So what is it that makes the 2020 Starbucks Submariner so popular? Well, for me, I think it's really built into its DNA. We know that the Kermit was wildly popular when it was launched. It is even more popular now. It must have been funny at Rolex when they were developing this new reference for 2020 because they recognized the popularity of the original Kermit. And it's always nice as a manufacturer to give back and support those that maybe missed out on a great reference from the past. And I fundamentally do think that this reference was there to support those that maybe missed out on the original anniversary Kermit. And my God, does it deliver. Now, while we see retail prices at £7,500-ish and pre-owned prices at over double that, the truth is this is a real opportunity to buy in to that Kermit, that anniversary love that you may have missed back then. It's a wonderful watch, and it's one that's only going to become more interesting over time. So guys, to conclude, this is a very, very special watch that I've thoroughly enjoyed having around today. It's really one that you actually need to hold and feel before you fully appreciate just how incredible it is. I would say that this is a very special watch because it encapsulates what is wonderful about collecting Rolex. It's all about the detail. When you wear this, people may be forgiven for thinking you're wearing a Kermit, but the truth is you're not, and there's something very powerful about that. I think it's all about those details, slight innovations, those changes over time that make this very special. The small increase in case size, the small increase in the power reserve, and the slight adjustment in the Pantone of the bezel. These are all small elements that go up to build a story that's really quite attractive. So all that's left to say is a huge thank you as always for tuning in and watching. Please do let me know your comments below. Tell me if this is your favorite Submariner from 2020, what your favorite Submariner is of all time. And as always, click subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and do hit the bell if you'd like to be notified of all of the new videos coming from the watch department here at Xupes. But until next time, go well.